Hello there, folks.
Hi there.
So it's been a while, and we're back.
It has.
Yes, many things happened,
They did.
and yeah. But we're gonna, want to shed some light and some positivity into the world, and
Ah,
talk about a cheerful previous year, finally, uh, and there's been a delay of that video mainly because I'm not the one who is trying new games each year, that many new games, and if I do, I usually get to the games that are at least 2 years old. I'm catching I'm catching up. It takes me a while to even play right now. If I look at my 2020 games, it's not many of those that I played, and 2021 games, only a few. So we created a list. We both created lists, and I um I might have some like reworkings and reprints as well and something like that in on my
mm,
list. So
okay.
I take a full responsibility for that, but you know, um,
Is this your best 10 games of 1996 or?
yes. But yeah. So what we have here is just 10 games that we like that were released previous year. There might be some confusion with a few titles when they were released, and I was thinking about at some point like we should change the kind of a not do it by year, but a kind of a convention year kind of a thing. So
Mm,
I always feel like the year starts with Essen because of so many new releases, and because Essen releases so many games that get delayed in worldwide release for
yeah.
so long that they basically like it says 2020 on BGG, but actually there was like 200 people who got this maybe at most, and
Yeah.
got it in a German language, whatever, or anything else, and then the wider release was there, but officially it was released 2020. Let's say something like that. So I was thinking about next year. I'm gonna, shift the gears and maybe we'll do this kind of a Essen till next Essen, kind of a we take a year in that way.
Okay. Well, we'll see when we get there. I mean, for me, I took some games that came out maybe at Essen in limited release, but did not make it into the US into wide distribution, and I never played. Those are going to be 2022 games for me. So things like Ark Nova Boon Lake that I really like, I'm not going to put on this list because the US release was not until 2022.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So mine are all games that came out during the year 2021, or at least
Yeah.
came out, in wide release in 2021.
Mine might be controversial because I didn't really look into like in order for me to understand if it came out and it was a wide distribution or not. I mean, like it's so much confusion about that, and so many delays and things that I was like, okay, I don't care. I'll just put them on the list.
Sure.
And if you feel like they are not 2021 releases, that's fine. I don't care. I just chose my 10. That's how I
Oh,
go.
very well.
So I think let's do
I
just make.
also
Hmm.
I also will say that there's one game that came out in 2021 that I really like, but it's really just a reprint of another game, and that's Summoner Wars. I'm not putting that one on my list, even though I really like the new version.
Hmm. I can see that. Yeah, but it also depends how you feel about that one, if it was a
Sure.
fresh experience for you or not. So, um, I have
Very
some.
similar
Well,
experience.
we'll get to that. I mean, like,
Sure.
there are some controversies, but I think we should get to this page over here.
Let's
and
do it.
just start and see what happens. Okay, number
Oh,
10.
all right.
So Kyle's number
Okay,
10.
my number 10 of 2021 is one of the most played games that I had of 2021. And that's because everyone really liked to play this one. It took a bit of work to sell it to people because of how the box looks and the stupid name. But the game is called So Clover.
Hmm.
Now, So Clover is a word game from the makers of the other popular word game, Just One. What you're doing here is everyone gets four cards. The cards are squares and they have words on all four sides. And you assign them randomly to this weird Clover template. And then you're everyone is going to look at your own template and make a connection between the two words that are on each leaf that are sort of facing the leaf. So you'll make those connections, you'll write them on the leaf. So you're writing four one-word clues. Then you take off all four of those cards, shuffle them up, add one more, continue shuffling, and then reveal them. And people are going to take those five cards and try and recreate the four placements that you had on your original card based upon your clue. It's your sort of standard word game, guess what I was thinking type of a format, but it works really well. The boards are nice, and even though they look like clovers, which is great,
Yeah.
but I don't know, the rules work really well. It's very simple. Everyone understands how to play this game, and it's always really enjoyable. And another good thing is that because everyone's doing the sort of setting the clues at the same time and everyone's sort of working on the guesses at the same time, it ends up being a game where you're always engaged, always trying to contribute. The one problem with it is it doesn't work well with large groups just because not everyone can see all the words just physically around the table. But I've found that it works really well with all kinds of people. And it was one that was always being played in 2021. So it had to make my list.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I look forward to trying. I do appreciate some simple word party games lately with just one and code names and insider and so etc. So there have been quite a few that I liked. So why not? I might like this one as well.
It is pretty clover.
My God,
No,
that's
that
how we
wasn't even.
started. No,
That's not
yeah,
even worth your
no,
time.
no, no. Let's go to mine. So the one that you will definitely not consider for your list, and you would not consider it to be a 2021 game. It was released in 2021, but it's a reprint. It's like a new edition kind of of the previous game, and I'm talking about a steampunk rally fusion.
Oh,
So the original one came in 2015. The fusion is a new version of that, basically being the same game. I don't know if there were some minor reworkings of some things. I don't know exactly. Uh, but yeah, it has the fusion dice now, and the fusion dice are like really powerful boosts, but can harm you in a sense. So they are like, you know, two sides of the coin, which is great. I love that. I love the little bit of that push your luck there. But mostly, this game has this kind of engine building, in a sense, a literal engine building. You're building your machinery, your engine, etc. Uh, with the cards, and you are activating these cards with the different dice, and they have the. It depends on the values, but the cards themselves would actually give you some boosts to move forward or to do some other stuff, and you are getting some special cards like the action cards that you play that are really cool. They can be played in different phases, and you race. And it's not so. I do not like racing games mostly because in racing games, whoever finishes first wins the game, and it for me feels like I can watch a race. It's engaging, but then when I play race, it's anticlimactic for me if somebody goes too far ahead. With this one, you can build up your engine, you can be behind, but then the last turn you boost yourself and you just go like 10 spaces forward, etc. And if you finish over the finish line, if you get over the finish line, you don't win automatically because somebody can also go over the finish line and go further than you. They win the game. So
Sure.
that there's that catch over there and some minor intricacies that are going on the board that you must face. Uh, the other thing I don't like usually is drafting. I'm not the biggest fan of drafting. Uh, Here, I feel it works for me. So overly, a great looking a race game that has this kind of a very tight engine building and kind of a management going on with it. So these other mechanisms that I usually don't like, they don't bother me that much. So yeah, definitely. If you kind of get the older version, get this new fusion version. I mean, like definitely get this new fusion version. It's the same, but basically the fusion dice. And yeah, I do like it. It's
Yeah.
good. What one downside, the considerable downside is I still feel that it's too long.
Okay.
It's I mean, like if you've played it a bunch, then it becomes faster. But it's so much to consider at some point. And with new players, I will never play it with four players again. It's like too many people thinking about too many things and trying to understand things, and it's not easy to teach this game, in my opinion. So I don't know. It needs time to bake in people's minds,
Okay.
for it to
Yeah.
shine.
Right. I got this one, and I mean, I thought of it. It was on my list, but for me, this was mostly an expansion to an existing game. So
Yeah.
that's why I didn't. I dismissed it, and it's enjoyable. I mean, the not so. I mean, it's sort of a reprint and the fusion expansion, but there's really
Yeah.
very little that has changed between the two, other than the addition of a couple of different boards, which have some special
Different boards, different
abilities.
people, the
Yeah.
historical people, and I mean,
Right.
the thing is, I've not played many games of 2021. That's why I included
Okay.
uh,
That's fine.
reprints and stuff. So, but it came out in 2021. So, and for some
There you
people,
go.
it might be this totally new game.
It might
If
be.
they don't know the steampunk rally. So, yeah. Let's get to number 9.
All right. My number 9 is a game that came out and made a huge splash for me. It's largely was a solo experience for me at first, but then I started introducing other people. It's a game for 1 to 3 players, which is an odd number. The game is called Destinies,
Hmm.
and this is a game. It's one of those games that uses a board and an app. And what you're doing is you've got a character and you're going through a story, and you're going to make this character has 2 things that it wants to do, and they might be find 5 people that saw a werewolf, or and then destroy 3 holy relics or something. So you're looking for 2 different types of things, and you just open this app and you move around and explore stuff. And as other people are taking their turn, you're kind of listening and seeing if you can hear something about okay, I'm looking for holy relics. Well, I heard about one over there. And so you're kind of just doing this. And that part feels more like an app than a board game. But when what you're doing outside the board is collecting these cards, and then whenever you have to do some sort of a test, you'll roll a number of dice, and you can pay to have more dice if you'd like. And you have these tracks, and the tracks have these discs on them, and that's what basically going to be how many successes you're getting. If you've got a disc at the 3, the 7, and the 9, and you roll a total of 8, well, that's going to be 2 successes because the 9 is beyond there. And that was an interesting system. And then once you've achieved your goal, you kind of enter this finale, which is a race to the finish line, and you don't really know what's going to be happening on that finale. And so a lot of whether you're prepared for that finale or not is going to make it easier or harder to complete. And other people can start the finale after you, but be more prepared for it and do a little bit better. There are, I think there were four main stories in the base game, and you can play them with a different character. I really like this solo. As a solo game, it really felt interesting because you were racing against sort of a clock, but you didn't even know how many ticks were on the clock. And so you would explore and then you'd fail. And then you would know and you'd remember, okay, I need to go there and there and there. And for that, it was almost like a time stories type of an
Hmm.
experience for me, but much better. And then as a group game, it was really interesting because you could listen to what other people were doing and try and help be more efficient by paying attention to where somebody else goes and what someone else is doing. The stories were very interesting. They were not connected at all. The game says this is going to be a campaign and you should play them in order. You can totally ignore that. There was nothing at all connected between these stories. You could play any of the scenarios in any order you liked. And then there were some expansions for it that added more stories, and I think there's some more coming out still. I really liked Destinies. It was a very interesting experience, very enjoyable, very easy to teach and learn just because there's not that many rules. And the app does a good job at helping you follow along and get things right. It was a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, this one is in my to try list. Um, uh, there's nothing else. I mean, like it's because I've heard it's great solo. It gives you more of that time stories vibe, which I like when you play it solo. So, like, okay, not something I uh, would like in my collection if it's great solo,
Mm-hmm.
because I do not play solo. Anyway,
Ah,
yeah, it's definitely a game that I'm interested in.
good.
So my number nine is mm, so this one I tried recently, and I'm not enamored with this game. It's it will
Why
not
is it
stay
on
in
your
my
list?
yeah it will not
Oh,
stay in my collection because my collection is very tight. But I mean, like we're talking about uh you know top 50 games of all time kind of a thing going on there. But this one um is Korra, Rise of an Empire. And first of all, I do like the production of that one.
it's
I
very
mean,
nice.
it's clean, it's nice, it's resist boards. It's like when we had this kind of a small feud with Rio Grande Games where they said like uh, for the Beyond the Sun, they said like you know we have dual layered boards, we have printed dice, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but they're done horribly, and I could have shown them this one and how you do it correctly. Everything fits,
Okay.
everything is nice, custom stuff. Um, it's move up the tracks kind of a game,
Huh?
basically. I'm
Pretty
not
much.
opposed to that. I like that. I do like the politics cards here that you play through a certain action, and they give you those different boosts. I like that. That's great. You're building up, and you're moving up your own player board tracks, which give you a lot of bonuses and things and make you better. And you move up those common tracks, and the central part of the game is this military track and the tokens around it. So basically, you I don't know, you spend your warfare in order to get those tokens, the trophies, whatever, and then you go on another track that will basically boost your trophies as points. So something like that. So it's simple. It's Yellow expert line, but Yellow is not a company to make a very difficult game.
Right.
And with this one, one thing that might be kind of a controversial at the table, with some people hating it, some people loving it, are the events.
Mm-hmm.
So because the events uh, can beat you down and can help you out. It depends on the situation you're in. So I can see people hating it. I find it okay. And one thing I love in this game, this mechanism of you rolling the dice, and the dice are basically like kind of an action points or allowance. And you have these action tiles. They're numbered from 0 to 6, I think.
Right.
And these action
Yep.
tiles are different stuff you can do. You can move the culture up the culture track, get more people, or get new politics cards, or play a politics card, or move up your own board with your advancements things, which are very powerful, give you a lot of special abilities, and that's great. So, and you decide, and based on the dice, you have to sometimes pay people, like it's the resource. I don't know how it's thematically inclined into this one. I mean, thematically, it's an abstract game. There's no don't search for a theme there. But yeah, I do really enjoy this mechanism. This is something I would take out of this game, put it something else, and make it this one around that. It's
Yeah.
simultaneous action selection. I love it in every game. So overall, Korra, a nice experience. If you like moving up the tracks, it's the game for you.
Definitely is. I enjoyed this one. The title's kind of weird, and I don't love the events. I found them kind of boring. That was my problem. Was you always started and ended with the same ones, and that part I thought was like, I probably needed about twice as many, because after you've played it a few times, you've really gone through all of them, and they're not all that eventful. Um, but
Yeah.
I enjoy the game. Other than that,
So especially when you unlock the one of the tracks unlocks you the third die, and then you can do three
yeah,
stuff. It's if you build up your cards, if you play correct cards, it can be crucial. So anyway, it
sure.
was just a nice experience. It's not something I will keep in my collection, but something worth mentioning, as if
Sure.
somebody wants a medium to light Euro game that's really easy to understand. So
All
yeah,
right.
Korra, Rise of the Empire. Let's get to number 8. All right.
Okay. My number 8 was a game that was on my most anticipated games of 2021 list. It is a solo only game. This is Final Girl. Final
Oh,
Girl is a reworking of the hostage negotiator game with, a different theme here. And I mean, look, the game is not perfect by any means, but it's a lot of fun, right? You take a character, a girl, and you take some movie, monster, horror movie, killer type person, and you take a setting and you sort of mash those three things up together, and you've got this story you're playing. It's very card and die. It's kind of like, it's not really a deck building game, but what you're doing is you're using these action points to buy cards, which you can then play in your next turn. And then once you play them, they all go back to the supply, and you have to buy them all again. So that's it's a little bit weird in that. But what you're doing is you're trying to save other people in this horror movie setting, and also to defeat the killer in some way, usually by damaging the killer. And you've got everything you do is driven by dice. So when you might roll 2 dice, or if you're doing well, sort of in this green zone, you'll roll 3, or if you're in this red zone, you'll roll only 1. And based upon the number of successes you get, that's going to be how well you succeed at your action. You can see on the card what it's going to be. It's not a surprise. And 2 of the sides of the dice are a miss, 2 sides are a hit, a success, and 2 sides are a conditional success, which means you can discard 2 of your cards in order to count it as a success if you'd like to. And the rules are pretty simple. You're running around, exploring, figuring out what you want to do, and ultimately then fighting the killer. It's a lot like Hostage Negotiator. If you've played that one, it'll all be very familiar. But it's a new twist on it, and there's several different scenarios that came with the game. There were, I think, 5 different horror movie settings you could play, and you can mix and match those. There's a new version coming out probably in 2023 with even more, but with just what you've got in the base game, it's definitely a good use of your time if you like solo games. A great experience that I had. I really enjoyed Final Girl.
hmm yeah. Yet again, a solo game, but sounds cool. I mean,
Well,
the
yeah,
theme.
this one's only solo, right? I mean, the other
hmm
one, Destinies, you can definitely play with more than one, but this one is for when you're all by yourself.
All right. So my number eight is something you will not consider to be a 2021 release, and I put it there for the reason that I saw that it was 2021 on BGG.
Mm-hmm.
I might reconsider it myself to be 2022, but uh, the train is gone, so I already put it on the list,
Okay.
and that is Arc Nova.
Okay.
So it came out during Essen, I think, but it has a wider distribution somewhat
Yeah,
around
all five
now.
copies came out in Essen, and
Oh, 5 copies, yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, like, who cares? Let it be. I put it on this list, and you know, you can put it on the next year's list.
I might.
Uh, yeah, sure you will. So this is only my number eight. It's there's a lot of hype surrounding this game.
There
People
is.
love this game to the bits, and I do like this game. There's that system of the cars that was in Civilization New Dawn that I really enjoy. If you use a card and it becomes weaker, and then you have to use other stuff for that card to become more powerful eventually. So it's like the card sliding mechanism, you know. I like that a lot. Um, and the theme is great. The zoo theme. I'm not keen on the zoo building stuff. It's like a Polaminos and Tetris. I'm just not the biggest fan of that, but I find it okay. So and you're playing those different cards, building yourself up like an engine building. There's a lot going on, and on the other hand, it's all logical. Uh, why it's number eight? Why it's not higher? Um, I find having two scoring tracks going towards each other a very stupid and horrible mechanism. I don't like it at all because if when I play with such mechanism, I don't feel like appreciated by the game. You know, I don't feel like I was rewarded with anything playing a rather difficult, heavier game, doing lots of stuff, and then getting only a few points, etc. So you can eventually get better and better and better, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna beat you down, so you can do better, and then I'm gonna beat you down again, so you can do even better. You know, it feels something like that. So I do have a problem with the scoring. Uh, Take away the scoring, do just your usual, you know, points, and I would love the game much more. I think
Okay.
that's my opinion. Just
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of the scoring, right? I mean, you could instead of actually calculating your score and subtracting X from Y, you could just see who won and who got second place. I mean, you don't have to actually do that math problem.
I don't like that. That's the thing. I
Okay.
don't like this kind of there's one winner and everybody else loses because
That's
if
how
at
most
some
games
point,
are.
yeah, I mean, no. The thing is, like racing games, I said, well, I don't like them. There's somebody goes over the line, finish line, they win. Everybody else is like a loser. You feel like you didn't achieve anything. But with other games where you have just your usual points, if I get if we're playing a four-player game and I'm second, I feel very much that I achieved something. I won
Hmm.
by my means, kind of a like I. So this player, he's really good at this game. They're really good at this game. They won fair and square, but I got the second place. So good. I'm at least I'm not last. So this kind of a feel of that. So I don't like games that uh, don't like only have just one winner and everybody else is not in the rankings.
Okay. Very
No,
well.
every game has a winner. That's what I mean. But I mean, like, no, if you get what I mean, it's like I want some rankings.
You want to be the best loser?
Yes, it's fun. It's not loser. It's second place. It's third place.
Okay.
People go to the Olympics and get the third place, and they are extremely cheerful about that because third place
Okay.
is also great. Second place is also great. Even
Hmm.
fifth place is great. Who cares? It just I want to
Well, if
be
you get
appreciated
fifth
by the
place in
game.
Ark Nova, you're not doing it right because it's a four-player game.
Yeah, yeah, true. But I mean, like it's. I'm not talking about this one. It's overly. So
Okay.
this is it feels kind of race to that to the win, and it just ruins part of the game for me. But
I
I mean,
see.
it's still on my list.
Well, I really enjoy Ark Nova, and it probably, it might appear on my best games of 2022 list because for me
Mm.
that's when it came out in North America, and that's when I first played it. So it's a 2022 game for me, but I do really enjoy it.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to number 7.
All right, my number 7 is another game that really got played a lot. I mean, some people I know really took a shine to this one. It's a very simple game. The game is called Cascadia.
Hmm.
And in Cascadia, what you are doing is you've got a set of four things, right? And it's four pairs. There's a hexagonal tile and a little wooden disc. And you're going to, on your turn, pick one of those two pairs and then place it into your territory. And where you're placing it and how you're doing that is going to depend on what you're aiming for. You're scoring in two main ways. One of the ways is by having a large group of adjacent territory of the same type, and so you might want to place the hexagonal tile in a way that it helps increase your largest area of one or more types. And then you also have to place this animal disc on a space, and it could be on the one you just took, or it could be on one that you already had, but you want to make sure you have enough room for it. And then each of the animals, there's 5 different animal types, and they're each going to score a different way based upon what you chose at setup. And you can mix and match the different scorings. I think there's 4 for each animal. And so you're trying to place them in different ways. Some things want to be next to others. Some things want to be in particular sized groups. Some things want to be in a huge chain. It really depends from game to game. But that's what you're doing. You're going to take one of those two things, place them. You have these 1-point tokens that you can get for filling up certain spots, and you can use those to sort of take a not matching pair or to kind of refresh the line at the start of your turn. But it's very fast because you've got only a few things you can do. Yet it always feels very interesting to try and place this in such a way that you can get the most out of each and every one of your turns. And then the game's over and you add up your scores. And usually, it's usually a pretty tight game.
Hmm.
Rarely do you have a game where somebody's winning by 50 points or something. But it's very enjoyable, and it's one that my family really liked. I have friends that really liked it. It's just it feels like the kind of game that works for almost everybody, and it was a huge success for us.
Hmm. Yeah, that's not something I'm interested in
Okay,
mechanically. So yeah,
well then you don't need to play it.
no, I don't. I didn't.
I did.
uh, my number 7 is might be a surprise, but I do find this game very very clever and engaging in a sense. I mean, like it's so easy to teach as well.
Does
It's
it
like
involve clovers?
no, it involves colorful discs though, and it's totally abstract. And I heard there's an expansion coming, so I might be interested in that. And that's Mandala Stones.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I like Mandala Stones? So I'm not into abstract games usually. This one is colorful. You pick up the discs in a circle, put them on your player board, and try to stack them in a way that benefits you the most by scoring them, etc.
Okay.
But you are like you pick up a if you pick up a bigger stack, only the top one will be scored. When you score, only the top discs will be scored. So the ones underneath will be revealed, and then you're trying to kind of do it in a sense that whatever is revealed next is going to benefit you the most through next scoring and etc. and etc. So it just it's easy going. I like this chunky plastic. I don't know what they are. Stones, whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
thematically mandala stones with two with colors and two patterns, which the patterns do have differentiation on the central board. So yeah, mandala stones. There's not much to talk about this one. It's very easy. You have some goal cards that you can do at the end of the game as well. So yeah, I just like this extreme simplicity in this game.
Okay. I have not played it. It didn't look all that interesting to me, so it kind of looked like the type of game I would play if somebody had it and said, "Hey, let's play." Not the kind of game I'd go out of my way to find.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's get to number 6.
Alrighty. Okay. Number 6. My number 6 is a big game, a game I was very excited for when it came out. It's a successor to another older game, but a very different experience than the one that it succeeds. The game is Dinosaur World.
Mm-hmm.
So in this game, what you're doing is building a park and putting dinosaurs in it, and it's a lot like Dinosaur Island. In fact, same series and a lot of the same artwork. Although the color scheme on this one is a little bit more muted. The Dinosaur Island was very in your face and lots of loud colors. This one is a little bit more tame.
Yeah.
But what you're doing in this game is you're going to go through different phases, and in each phase you're going to there's a phase where you're taking stuff and putting it in your park, and you've got these hexagonal tiles and you're trying to place them around your park in such a way that you can visit them efficiently, because the next main phase of the game you have this little Jeep, and it's going to start at this entrance and it's going to drive through a couple of spaces, and you can only move at a certain number of spots, and then when it goes to a spot you can activate that spot. But what is interesting is the game comes with something called boredom tokens, which, I was excited when I saw that in the rule book. But every time you visit a spot, it becomes less interesting for people. There's a security center, and the first time people have to go there, they're okay with it. They'll tolerate it. But after that, people start to get really bored going to the security briefing. And so you're going to get less and less punch out of it each time you go there. In fact, you can lose some excitement by visiting it too many times. And so you're sort of trying to manage, you've got some stuff to start with, but the more times you visit it, the less value it's going to give you. So you've got to place things in a way that you can get to the new stuff more efficiently. And then, just like in Dinosaur Island, there's some risks. You've got to manage your security, because eventually people are going to die if dinosaurs get out and devour them. And that's not great, because you'll lose points for the deaths at the end of the game. But it's really interesting the way that you're selecting things, where you're placing them, trying to make the most of everything you do, trying to upgrade this Jeep so that it can go farther, visit more things, trying to balance the excitement you can get from putting big and scary dinosaurs in your park versus the risk of some people dying and you having to take negative points for them. It's a really fun, interesting puzzle. It takes up way too much space, though not as much as Dinosaur Island, I think. I don't know. I haven't compared them, but it doesn't feel like it's too long. It's very engaging the whole time. I really liked it. It has the same sort of large, heavy, fat, thick dice that Dinosaur Island has, but these are different symbols and do different things. But definitely a hit for me, and one that I'm always looking forward to. I still think I like Dinosaur Island better. I maybe it's just the nostalgia for that one because I've been playing it for years. But this one is right behind it, one that I also really enjoy, and not the same game, which is important.
Yeah. So I cannot really compare because I've played neither one of them, and but I've already read. I learned how to play Dinosaur Island. We just couldn't get to it eventually.
Okay.
But yeah, we were about to play, so I kind of have a sense of how this game is played, and it sounds interesting, Dinosaur Island. So if this one is almost the same, it might
Yeah,
also be
it's definitely not almost the same. It's a very different experience. If I said it
okay.
was the same, I misspoke. They're very different. I actually think this one's easier to teach and learn.
Okay.
Dinosaur Island has some rules in it that you really have to drill into people's heads because they're not as apparent.
Yeah.
But I think rule book wise, this one has a better rule book. But I like both a lot. They are not the same, but they're a similar thematic experience, and so they're naturally going to get. I mean, they're supposed to be compared. They're from the same publisher, and with the same font.
Yeah.
But I like both of them. I don't know if you asked me one day of the week which one I prefer. Although I do think it's probably Island, and that might just be because there's an expansion for Dinosaur Island, and I love the expansion for it. But I
Yeah.
don't know. But they're not the same, and it's
Okay.
worth your time to try both.
All right. So my number six is something I tried also recently, um, and I do enjoy uh, some of the titles from that same designer. Especially one of them is in my top 10 of all time, and it's from the designer of Underwater Cities, and that's Messina 1347. And my God, why did they put this number in there? It's like I never remembered this number. It's like it's such a random number, you know.
I don't
It's
think it's
like they
random. I
did
think it was chosen.
with Pulsar as well. It's you would never, you have to memorize this exactly. It's like your pin code, It's you have to do that.
Wait, is that
Don't
your
do
pin
that.
code?
It's my pin code. Yes,
Okay, well, come visit me again.
yes, I will. Anyway, this game, as you can see, there are some player boards, and there's the central board. Central board is basically the city infested with rats and plague, and everything is, you know, not as delightful. The pandemic, etc., is going on there. And this is a worker placement game. You put your workers down on these different city tiles, and then you collect the bonuses. Eventually, you can claim those city tiles, and then if you can get points from them, and then if somebody else uses them, you get some bonuses. But you need to you need to prepare yourself for that in order to claim those city tiles. But as you put down your workers, then you will not grab them back into your supply at the end of the round or anything like that. You just continue using them on the board. So now they move around. The first time the land, the parachute, whatever, the medieval parachute, and then they go around, which I really like. It's like a worker placement, but in a sense that um, it limits your it limits your accessibility to some tiles because sometimes it might be taken by the players, which is the usual worker placement stuff, and some tiles can be reached, but then you have to pay extra for that. So you can go further, but if you pay money. And there's some other resources, and there's that. Um, you can get those people on them as well. They basically the tiles generate some new people, etc. And you get those people there, and you get some fire to fight the plague. And the people with the plague on the tile go to quarantine, but you can upgrade their quarantine quarters for them to live more happily, or gets into your this kind of abstractish I don't know what it is. Abstractish board in a sense. So you put the people
Okay.
down there. This is an abstract part of the game. It's a circle with spots for people, and bonuses above them, and then you move a particular token or tokens in different directions, and you try to get the bonuses as many as you can. And there, if you move further, you can get like first you activate only one, then you can
Right.
activate one from each side, then you can activate everybody, whatever. It's
Right.
you are building up those people there, and but you are also like you're using them, they're gone, and in order for them when they are in those quarantine quarters, you try to upgrade them, so even if they sit there, they're not useless, they still generate you some points or resources extras, so everything is like optimizing to the maximum. So yeah, this is a game about like, and you build different upgrades, etc. So this game is all about maximizing your values, your turns, etc.
Sure.
And I do like it. It's one downside, it's fiddly in my
It
opinion.
is.
A lot of stuff going on, and it might have could have been streamlined just a little bit, but on the other hand, it's tight as well, and it's I know there are lots of interesting decisions to make. So I do like
Yeah.
Messina. 1347, and just call it Messina. Just forget this number.
Well, I'm assuming the number was chosen purposely by probably the time at which the plague was affecting that city.
Yes,
Um,
yes, but
I don't think it's a random number, but it's also your pin, and that's good to know. I enjoy Messina. It was a hit with some people I didn't think would like it, which was
hmm
always a surprise with me. And I did not put it on my list for the same reason as Art Nova. In fact, it still is not out in North America. And I did not get my copy
oh,
until at some
hmm.
point in January or February.
Okay. I didn't know when it came out. I just tried it
Yeah, that's
on the
fine.
tools.
Hey,
And like I looked for it. It says BGG. It says 2021. So I was like, okay.
yeah,
I didn't even know when it came out exactly.
it's another one that has had a little trouble getting over here. I got mine. I ordered it from a European store, and it arrived at some point in late January, earlier
hmm
February.
Okay. Got it. Gotcha. All right. Let's go to number five. So here we are.
And speaking of games that I ordered from a European publisher, but
hmm
definitely did come out and were available, and I think I got mine in October of last year, is a little dice game that everybody really seems to enjoy. The game is called Bad Company,
Okay.
and this game it's sort of that space base or Machikoro style of mechanism where you're going to roll some dice and try to improve the numbers. But this one is lightning fast. So what you're doing is you've got a crew of various crooks and you're trying to pull some capers.
Yeah.
And someone's going to roll 4 dice and then assign them into pairs. So, 6 and 4 and 5 and 2. And so then you would have a 10 and a 7. And so the person who rolled the dice gets to make that decision. The person who rolled the dice also gets to activate their people at both numbers that were chosen. So 7 and 10, for example, and then everyone else can activate one of those pairs. And most of the characters are going to give you some sort of a symbol, and you've got some cards in front of you, and you're going to take a token and cover up that symbol, and you're trying to fill in your card, and then you don't even have to say bingo, but you fill in your card, and then you move it down to the bottom. It'll give you points at the end of the game. It'll also get you some kind of a special ability. Additionally, there's this police car, and you've got your cars, and you can move your car forward, trying to stay ahead of the police car, and get bonuses as you cross different checkpoints on the board. And then the last thing you can do is just get money. And when you get the money, you'll use it to buy additional characters for your gang. And you'll move up on this track. It tells you how much you have to pay. And you'll draw cards, choose one, and the cards are going to cover up the people that are printed on your board. But the tops, it's interesting just because the tops are all different and the bottoms are all the same. So, your 7 is going to grow into this rather large, tall person, which is kind of funky. But as the game goes on, you get comically large people. And then the game
Mm-hmm.
ends after someone's completed 6 cards or completed that car track. And you're going to, there's a comically large person. And that person, for example, that 7 you see, you get all those symbols if you use it on a 7. And so that's going to be more efficient for you. But once you get to the end, uh, you're going to tally up your points. There's also sort of this weird majority scoring. There's symbols on the cards, and when you complete them, if you have more than someone else, you get to take this necklace and put it on your guy. And then you'll see that 7 in the picture there, he's wearing a necklace. And so every time he's activated, he's also going to get 1 point. So there's that going on too. But it's really fast because you're going to complete 6 cards pretty quickly, or you're going to get all the way to the end of the track pretty quickly if that's what you go for. And then you tally up your points, you see who won. And it's invariably one of those games that people want to play again fairly quickly because it's just so interesting. It's very satisfying to upgrade your own board and get all these bonuses all at once. But it's really, the game feels like it's almost too short sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I've really enjoyed it. I remember when we played it the first time, I was like, I'm not sure about this, but the artwork is fantastic and fun, and everybody really gets behind it. And I've just really enjoyed Bad Company.
Okay. Yeah.
I take it you've not played Bad Company.
No, I do not have any intention to do so.
I see.
Not
Well,
a
it's
fan of
fun.
such. Not a fan of such mechanism. Uh, so my number 5 is the game that I played a bunch, and the more I play it, the more I like it. But I like it because of this dice mechanism that I saw basically in an old NSGN games called Predator. And Predator has this cool, like, it has so many problems, had balance issues, etc. It's like, okay, if somebody could just take it and take this mechanism and do a better game out of it. And I've been heard many years later, because we got Origins, uh, first builders.
Okay.
So theme wise, who cares?
Ooh.
Just forget the theme. It's tacky.
Does it have one?
I mean, technically it has some text on in the rulebook. Anyway, but mechanically, what I do like, there's I wouldn't call the dice drafting is in the beginning, but basically you have dice as workers, and they have different powers. So the higher pips number, the more powerful the worker is. But as they go over the 6, they retire, become advisors. And the other part is, as they become advisors, they basically add the color to your this. You have this kind of a archon or whatever, the small miniature. It's like a Granda worker. The Granda worker can go anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's allowed there or not based on the pips and those motherships. But they are colorless, and in order for you to get the most out of one space, you want to activate those bonuses as well. But you need to go there with that same color of a die in order to activate those bonuses. You want to do as many bonuses as you can. So this is a cool part. And on the other hand, if your dice will reach over the 6, you cannot use them as workers anymore. You cannot use them to put them in the districts, because you will be building a kind of a separate mini game of those building tiles, and they are also activated based on the color code, etc. And they give points at the end of the game, not the tiles themselves, but the dice you put in between the tiles. They give points at the end of the game based on whatever is your tower level, and that you're also going to build up in one of the city tiles. So, and there are some different builds, etc., as you can see here. So, and yeah, you're trying to optimize everything, because you're trying to get the dice into those slots, but it depends, like, and get advisors down here to give you points in the game. But the problem is that you are left with less dice to work with during the worker placement round. And
Right.
so you have to optimize that and get new dice. And will you get a 4 that will last you some time, or will you get a 1 that will last you a lot, but it's not
That'll last
powerful enough?
forever.
Yeah, and you have to pay a lot of scrolls, but you need scrolls for something else because scrolls are needed for a die, for a building, for
Hmm.
whatever. It's like, uh, then I have to go to that particular space in order to get more scrolls, but I do only have a certain amount of actions. So I don't want to go there. I don't want to waste my action there. So it's a lot of this kind of a decision going on there. The military track, it's okay. It's nothing special. It's you get some extra bonus resources, whatever, sorry, or points.
Yeah.
And one other thing is that there are those cards, and you get to use only 3 cards during a game, each game, and you move up those different tracks. I've never seen anybody move up the track so high. Maybe it's a strategy. I will try it at some point. But eventually, these are like special abilities. They are cool. You should not. You should not make somebody get all 3 cards. Then they are powerful. But on the other hand, I would have loved it to be not just those 3 cards, but a deck of cards. Like you get the ability, and then we put a new card down, and then somebody else can buy this card. Well, like a card buy thing. It could have been a little bit more fun. Overall, I do enjoy this game. It's tight. It's nice. It's not so hard to learn. It just
Very
it,
thematic.
yeah. No, I mean it was a pleasant surprise. I didn't
Okay.
expect to be as fun as it was for me.
I was impressed with this one. I enjoyed it a lot. Again, I thought that military track was an extra thing that felt a little
Yeah,
tacked on. And it was interesting with those 3 special power cards, because what you didn't mention is you get to take it if you move up on that track at all, not if you're in first place. You get to take it. Now at the end of the round it goes to whoever's in first on the track, but
yeah,
you can sort of get it if you need it. And I
yes,
thought
yeah,
that was interesting.
but you have to you get it if you need it, but you have to go to that particular space. So it's
That's
just a
right.
particular worker spot space. It's
Hmm.
and I have not seen this being used a ton. This space. I mean, I've seen people trying to get other stuff like resources, some basic stuff, because
Right.
they need resources
Yeah,
all the time. So it wasn't a popular space to do.
I agree. I felt that was a little, yeah. Anyway, well, I enjoyed the game too. It was. It won't be on my list. There's a spoiler for you, but I did enjoy it,
Yep,
and it's one I look forward to playing again once you've colored in the pips on those silly
I did
wheels up at the
mine. I
top.
did mine right away
Yep, I did
because
mine in the very first game. I
I kind
pulled out
of
a Sharpie and colored them in.
yeah, because I think I saw somebody's post or something like that, or video, whatever. I was like, the first thing they mentioned, they colored the pips, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because
do the
otherwise
same
you
right
can't
away
see
because
them.
you
Uh,
can't see them. No, it's this is a missed opportunity kind of thing. Anyway,
yep.
let's get to number 4.
Okay, number 4. This is a game I was excited for. It was near the top of my 2021 anticipated games list, and it did not disappoint. It was a very enjoyable game when it arrived. The game is called Sleeping Gods. If you look at its general play time, it's between 60 and 1,200 minutes. This game, I don't know that I've
Wow.
ever seen it get done in 60. That seems like a lie. But this is a very long game. It's supposed to be this large experience that you could put away and pull back out later. But what you're doing is it's really more of a cooperative story exercise than an actual game. I mean, there's some game mechanisms in there, but a lot of what you're doing is exploring this world. So you open this map, and pretty much you can go anywhere and do whatever you want. You don't know what you're doing at the start of the game. You go to a space, open its entry, read what happens, figures. You get some boon, you get some penalty. You might learn it says, okay, if you happen to have this keyword, there's this new space to go to. And so, you'll make a mark on the board, or well, not on the board, but you'll make a note somewhere and say, well, I guess I have to come back when I have keyword unstoppable, or whatever it happens to be. There's
Near
an
and far uses
interesting
that. Yeah.
combat. What?
Near and far uses that
Yes,
more
and
and
this
stuff.
is definitely an evolution of near and far, and it's different because near and far, you really can't go back, right? Because once you've used that space, it's gone, and then no one else can have the experience there. Here, you can easily go back. You just say, okay, we're going to be playing this game for the next 7 or 8 hours. We just need to remember that is over here.
Okay.
You sail around. It might give you a hint, it might not, and you might come back on another game, right? I mean, you might not find that thing, but ultimately you're looking for these totems, and there are, I think, I've played through it and I've only found about a third of them. There's definitely a lot still to discover.
Hmm.
And the combat system is a little bit odd, but it's fine. You're trying to put these markers on this board, and it's an interesting combat system. But really, what you're doing here is experiencing the story. And there's something like 10 different endings. I don't know how many. There's an
Yeah.
expansion that you can get that you should. I mean, it does not add any rules. It just adds more adventures and places to explore.
Yeah.
The only problem with this game is how long it is.
Hmm.
There's really no way to make it shorter, other than having a lesser experience. But you're going to play through sort of 3 cycles, and eventually you're going to. When you finish the first cycle, something happens, and then when you finish the second cycle, and then the third cycle, and then you'll get to your ending based upon all the things you could have done. And I just really enjoy this. It's a great solo experience, right? Because you're just reading a book, but you can play it with other people too. And as long as you understand, okay, we're going to play this for a really long time, or else we're going to have a lesser experience. And I don't prefer that. I mean, you can put it away. That's fine. You can say, okay, we're going to play this for an hour, and then we're going to put it away, save the game, and come back later. That's fine, but that feels like kind of a hassle. I really enjoyed Sleeping Gods. It's just a great story, a great experience, a wonderful adventure, and one that I always look forward to returning
Uh, yes. Yes.
to.
It's true. So I have not played
Okay.
this one.
So then you don't know that
And
it's true.
no, no, I'm not playing this one because it's a campaign game and it takes a lot of time. So I
Well, it's
cannot
not
invest myself into it
really a
right now.
campaign,
But I mean,
right?
like, it's not an investment I can make right now.
It is a big time investment, and it feels almost like a campaign game, but really,
Mm.
you're
Hmm.
going to play one time through the story and then say, okay, I've had that experience, and then come back a month or two later when you're ready to have a new experience.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, uh, my number four is a another reprint of an older game, which was an amazing game, but has had problems with, you know, how many things going on in there and how long it is, and just, Anyway,
Okay.
Kemet,
Ah,
Blood and Sand, a 2021 release of Kemet, a kind of a new edition of Kemet, a more streamlined edition. It's basically your Kemet. You fight for the points, but whoever gets to a certain amount of points, basically, and survives with that amount of points wins the game. But you're
yep.
building your pyramids. Pyramids allow you to get power tiles, which is a centric mechanism of the game. The power tiles are uh, really cool powers that you get, and monsters and etc. So like that will boost you to the maximum. So you can see the tiles, for example, one of the tiles here, but based on the pyramid. So you can, like, there's now now it's included the blue, black, white, and reds, and you use only 3 pyramids during a game, so you can use your own mix and match. So you can choose that, and I also have the expansion for green pyramids as well. So now I have a
Sure.
choice of 3 out of 5 to
Hmm.
choose in each game. But yeah, it's already your Kemet. You just it's I do not like area control, but then this one it's all about those power tiles and just attacking people, and like it's very straightforward. It's not hard to understand now. The new edition is much more streamlined in my opinion. The production is great, uh, except I don't think it was a wise choice. So either one should have happened. Either the monster miniatures should have been smaller as in the original, or the board should have been bigger compared to original. So because if you put the monsters down, they do not fit on the board. Like it's just like they are oversized. It's
Hmm.
why they should have like if you make the miniatures bigger, you should make the board bigger.
Well, that's why they sell the playmat, which is much bigger. And that's the only thing I've played it with is
Yes,
the
but it's a
playmat.
play. No, no, it's an excuse
Yes, it
to
is.
to to spend another $50, on this stuff. No, never. I will not. I refuse because it's not
Okay.
how it should have been done. It's like make the bigger board. You already made this kind of a cool edition of Kemet doing all this trays and stuff and etc. But then you're like, okay, let's skip this part and make the board the same. I
Yeah.
like the board. I think okay, the minis are fine, bigger minis is fine, but the board then should have been reworked
Yeah.
or somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I enjoyed New Kemet. I did not put it on my list because it really is just a reprint of Kemet. Very little has changed, and what it did for me was it got me to play more Kemet because I took my old version and gave it away to my brother, and he really liked Kemet, and then my sister really liked it, and she got the new one, and so if I go visit them, I can play either one. The old one had some expansions. And that's the only thing that's a little bit sad is that those expansions are not really in here anymore. The black tiles and those are, but everything else sort of this weird. But that expansion wasn't that great. It was this weird path and moving these priests along it. And so I don't know. It's one of those ones that I don't think I ever played with. Really, if I were playing
Hmm.
Kemet, we'd just play the new one. What it does add, though, the number one most important feature that the game comes with is enough of these books that explain the special powers so that everyone can have one. Because that
Yeah.
was really a very big problem in old Kemet. There's so many symbols on these things, and the symbols are fine once you know what they all mean. But you really need this Rosetta Stone to pass around to people, and there was just one, and so you were always like, okay, someone's buying a tile. We're going to be here a little while they look and think, because you just couldn't do it between your turns. You couldn't say, I want that one, because you didn't understand anything. The new one has booklets for everyone, and that is a huge improvement.
Yeah, it is.
All
That's my choice. Let's get
right.
to number 3.
All righty. My number 3, if you look on Board Game Geek, it's listed as a 2020 game. This game did not come out in 2020. I don't know if it came out anywhere in 2020, but definitely not here. I got mine probably in the October, September timeframe, 2021. It's a game that looked really boring, and every time I played it with somebody, people have said, okay, I'll try it. And then a few rounds in, realized, yeah, I really enjoy this. The game is Anno 1800. And it is my brother refers
Hmm.
to it as Command Economy, the board game. But it's just this really interesting experience. What you do is you have a hand of cards, and your goal ultimately is to play all of these cards. And a card might require different things to play. Like this guy, he really wants sausages and pants. And so you're you're going to have to either make the sausage and pants, Or if someone else makes a sausage and you make the pants, you can give them, you can spend one of these trade tokens. You don't actually give them anything, but they get 1 gold to sell you a pair of pants to go with your sausage. And then you can play your guy and he gives you some kind of a bonus. And eventually, though, you don't have a lot of, you have sort of just a few workers, but you're going to want more people because each time you want to activate one of your factories, you've got to put a person out there. And so you'll try and get more, or you'll, as a reward, you might get upgraded workers of a different type. But every time you do that, you've got to take a new card, which means you've sort of extended your game a little bit. And so it's a very interesting game where I mean, look, all you're doing is buying and selling stuff and trading, but it's very fast because each turn you're going to take just one action, and everyone sort of is working and ramping up at the same speed without even communicating it, right? When I played a couple weeks ago with my brother, we were, no one said it's time to start, working toward the end game, yet somehow we both did at kind of almost exactly the same pace. It's just really interesting, the nonverbal communication that goes on here. And also, it sort of leads to some funny moments. There's this resource that looks like toilet paper, and
Yeah.
and my brother made it and I did not, and everything I wanted to do required toilet paper, and I could have bought my own toilet paper factory, but no, it was always, I see you have toilet paper there, and I would just keep feeding him money rather than waste one turn to ramp up my own production. It was just a really interesting kind of odd meta experience going on there. But
Yeah.
I really enjoy this game. The first time I played it, my friend and I, as Victor, we played it together, and we were like about halfway through. We looked up. This is really interesting. We're really having a good time. And every time I played it since then, it's always been people start to think, yeah, this is a lot better than it looks. And
Hmm.
I was really surprised by this one. I think we talked about it on a surprise list because it did not look, it looked like the kind of game I would not enjoy. And it became the kind of game that I really enjoy. And so I definitely have to put it on my top of the 2021 list.
Yes, I think that's the one I forgot. It could have easily been my even five or something like that. Somewhere in the middle of the list. I probably forgot because I looked at on BGG and 2020
I
plus. I,
don't know who got that in 2020.
uh,
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
that
yeah.
it
I
really
know,
came
yeah,
out in
yeah, yeah.
2020.
I looked at my collection and so because I gave it to my friends to play it, so they could enjoy it as well. So that's why I forgot. I don't have it
Okay.
on my shelf right now. So yeah, uh, a sad coincidence, but it's on your list still. And yes, this game
We
is really
still talked
good.
about
It's
it.
Yeah, this game is really good. It would have been higher on my list as well. An engine building, a satisfying one as you get more and more and more and more. Like this is how I feel like the game should appreciate your uh, you know your play. It's it gives you more and more and more, and you build up and you build up. It's something that with some of the games I didn't feel as much. Including Arc Nova, where I felt I built something up, but I couldn't get to this kind of a great finish line. Here, I totally feel the opposite. You build yourself up and you're ever expanding, and you feel like if you get to some finish, you feel very satisfied with not only the progression but the finish line as well. Anyway, a good
All
choice.
right.
Um, my number three is the game that I didn't appreciate that much the first time I played it, but the more I played it, and I played it by introducing to people who wanted to play it. It's like it's the best way. It's like other people want to play it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna teach to you because I know how to play it, and then you start seeing more and more beauty of this game, and that's Terraforming Mars: The Ares Expedition.
All right.
The first time I played it two player. It was too long. It was okay. So it's also all of the cards are you new to the powers and cards, etc. Even if you play Terraforming Mars, you can see the resemblance, but still, it's there's a ton of cards that you build up. This game has this kind of a race for the galaxy, roll for the galaxy mechanism of you uh, choosing the tiles. I mean, like you have cards, but basically you're choosing different phases, and if different people choose different phases, all these phases work for everyone, but you get the bonus if you choose a particular phase. And
Mm-hmm.
so you terraform Mars, and you get the oxygen up, and the temperature up, and the ocean tiles flipped, etc. And there are tons of different cards and things and resources to try to manage all of these things and get your income going and your engine built. So if you get familiar with the game, it becomes really cool. Like oh, I have this card. Oh, I know I can do that one, that one. If I get that particular card, I'll be able to boost my action to the max. Like at some point, I had one of my games. I had this. I built up the engine in the sense that each time I would get cards, I would get a ton of cards. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I don't have to know. I get it once, and then I don't have to worry about that for a long time. If
Sure.
another player chooses that, then it's free money for me because I'm just gonna sell those cards, and that's really cool. And each card has a cost and some symbols that relate to different other cards' powers, but the cost can go down, so you can make the cards cheaper and cheaper. At some point, like I also built up the other engine, the discount engine. I was discount Donald there because I was like just putting up the cards for almost no money. It's really cool, and how the phases work and how you reveal, and like in a four-player game, like if everybody chose a green the first phase, like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
how didn't you choose that? And then, but you can anticipate, you can see everybody's out of money. Okay, you can see that at least two people would choose production. But you're like, okay, so they will choose production, but I need to choose production as well because I need that extra 4 or 5 money, uh, that I get from bonus of that choosing that production. It's sometimes you choose and other people will choose, so you don't really have to, but you really need that bonus. You really need that discount of 3 money or whatever. So yeah, I started to appreciate this game more and more. The production and the art wise, it's a much better uh, than the Terraforming Mars, and also it is, in my opinion, a more. I mean, like I haven't played Terraforming Mars with all the expansions, but if we compare base game to this base game of the card game is a much better experience, at least for me.
Okay. I enjoy both. I like this game. I thought about it for my list. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy that I have it. I'm looking forward to more.
hmm I'm looking forward to expansions for this one. Yeah,
Yep.
to do some extra stuff. Okay, let's get to number two.
All righty. My number two is a game that really surprised me. I remember when it came out, it was just something I was so excited to start playing because it just felt like unlike anything else. The game is Unsettled,
Okay.
and this is a it's a weird game, right? It's a weird game to describe. It's an odd game to teach, but essentially what you're doing is you're on a planet and you're trying to survive in some way. And the game will kind of tell you what you're going to be doing as you sort of go through and take these steps and discover it. You don't really know at the start how you're even going to win or even really what you have to do. And on your turn, you've got these 3 dice and you don't roll them. They're just trackers, and they have different energy levels. They can go 3, 2, 1, or 0. And the 0 is a bad thing because when you get to 0, if you use it again, you're going to start spending your time. And time is a precious resource. That's how you lose the game, is every time it goes around this track, you will take some damage. But you really are just trying to explore and experience, kind of like Seventh Continent style. You're moving from one spot to the next and flipping over a card and seeing what new horrors wait there for you. And the
Hmm.
stories are all very interesting. The writing is fantastic. The game is in an odd-shaped box, but other than that, it's a very interesting experience, and it's well organized, so you can easily set it up and put it away. But it was just such a fascinating experience of discovery. And there are 6 different planets, and each planet is a set of stories. And there's 3 scenarios in each planet box. And I've not even played all of them, and I've played some of them more than once because look, I don't remember what happened in my first game anymore. And even if you know what's happening, it's still going to be a new experience. So you can definitely go back to it. I just was so enamored with the stories that were coming up here. And like I said, the writing is really good. They really got a nice balance of just enough humor, sarcastic humor, with also telling you what's going on. And this game was just so fascinating and such an exciting surprise for me.
Hmm. Okay.
And I
Yeah.
guess
Uh,
you've also not played this one.
no, I do not have an interest. I looked at this one. I looked at the playthrough. I don't know. It just doesn't interest me at all.
Huh.
Hmm. So, oops, I didn't put your number two in the menu.
Oops. Oh.
Yeah. Mm, that's fine. My number two is a much smaller game, and I I tend to lately appreciate this kind of a tight, simpler mechanisms and designs, and this is Furnace.
Okay.
So Furnace says 2020. 2020
Not come out in
came out the.
2020.
I mean, the Russian version came out in 2020, plus the media copies. So they said that the English copies that were there, in essence, were basically for the media. Very limited print run of like 50 copies, something like that, no, maybe 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this usual stuff. But Furnace, a very simple bidding game engine and engine building game. So you have these um, wooden discs of numbers of 4, 3, 2, and 1, and you get those cards. And you bid on the cards. You can never have the same color or a number on one card, and whoever bids the highest will get the card. Whoever bids and everybody else who bid lower than the highest bidder will get a compensation, and the compensation is the top of the card, which can be some resources. So, if somebody bids a 4, you can totally go there and bid a 3, and then you get the resources times 3 based on your bid. So you're trying to
Yeah.
manipulate all of that. So that's really cool. And the cards are really simple. You get resources. You convert these resources into other resources. You eventually want to get the most points, which is most money. And yeah, so extremely simple, extremely tight. There are 2 possibilities. You can play a, like I call it, free roam engine building, where if you get a card, just place it in your tableau, and you can activate it in any order you want. All of these cards. There will be basically a production phase where you activate all of your cards. You can activate them in any order. And I tried the second, like a module or variant, where when you get the card into your tableau, you have to build it on the, like, in between the cards, or on the right or on the
Oh, yeah.
left,
Mm-hmm.
but then it must stay in that order. So if you build that uh, in the production phase, you will activate your cards from left to right. So it
Mm-hmm.
creates this kind of an extra layer of thinking, like, should I definitely get this card? Where should I put it? So it makes a choice even more tighter, and I really enjoy the second, like a variant, more than the free roam. Free roam is
Okay.
great for introduction, but I think it's much more interesting to do this kind of a line of production. I
Okay.
really like this variant. So Furnace, great game.
I I definitely enjoy Furnace. I agree it was not really released in 2020, but
No, no.
when I got it in 2021, it's very fast. It's just an interesting experience that's not quite like anything else. Even though there's not really anything new thematically here, the way that
No.
it all comes together
I mean,
is really quite fascinating.
there's nothing new really, but I mean, like the bidding mechanism is so much fun.
Hmm.
So because if you bid like, oh, I'm gonna put a 3 down there because I feel like you really need this card, then you're like, nope, I'm not gonna go there with my
Nope,
4.
you're
I'm
gonna
just
get
gonna
it.
you're gonna get the card and not all of these resources, and it's like, and the order in the center when you get those cards, when you put the discs down, the order of those cards also matters because when you get the bonus, you get the bonus right away,
That's right.
and you activate the cards from left to right. So like
That's
we
right.
see, okay, so everybody gets resource and the high speeder gets a card, but down the road there are some cards that need that particular set. They need metal,
Yeah,
and the
it's a
first
good
card
game.
gives you metal. So it's like this tight choices. So, and if you will do me a favor and not let me to get resources, but instead the card itself, which I didn't really need, then yeah, okay. So I'm screwed. But also
Hmm.
you can upgrade the cards, which I also like. You can always invest into upgrading your cards, and eventually they will give you a better choice. But it's very simple. I heard there's the expansion coming
Yep.
as well, like in the works or something like that. I'm sure it's
Hmm.
gonna take a lot of time till we get this expansion. But there are also special abilities, and special abilities all feel extremely powerful. Extra bidding
Yep.
discs. I'm like, oh, or I can do something like that. I can pay coal in order to do extra upgrade or something like that, or
Sure.
do the discounts, whatever. It's all of this, or I can put the discs down even if there's that same number. It's
Right.
I do
Hmm.
not follow the rules of disc placing. Wow, like I really like those, and they all feel overpowered. But once you start playing, everybody's kind of like that, and so you're like
Sure.
you are doing it for your own benefit. Anyway, furnace number 2, and
All
let's
right.
go to the final number 1.
Okay. Okay. My number one was not on my 2021 list of top top most anticipated 2021 games because I didn't know anything about it. It was on yours though, and that was sort of the first time I heard about it. And as soon as I did, I was very excited to try this game. The game is called Imperium. It's a very boring title, and but it's not a very boring game. In fact, it's a fascinating game. This is a deck building game, but it feels very different from any other deck building game. It's definitely a much headier deck building game. So you've got a civilization, and that civilization has its own deck of unique cards. And every time you cycle your deck, you're going to get to pull one of these unique cards out and put it into your deck. So your deck is kind of building itself. Now you can add stuff that you buy to there as well, and you'll want to at certain points. Sometimes because they'll come with extra bonuses on them, sometimes because you need it, sometimes because you'll want it for another scoring condition. But eventually, you're going to make it through a small deck of additional cards, and then you flip to the Empire side, and now you have access to better, stronger, more powerful cards. But those are now going to come at a cost. So hopefully, you've built yourself up so that you can get the resources that you need to try and buy those additional cards and add them to your deck, because that's sort of one way the game can end. There's a couple of other ways too. You can sort of burn the world down and end the game very quickly if you want to by getting rid of all these unrest cards or riot cards or
Yeah.
whatever they're called. Uh, and then that changes the scoring. I mean, if you have more of those, if you have the fewest of those, well, then you just win by default because everybody else burned down. But that's not how it usually ends. Usually you're going to go toward one of these different end game goals. And then there's two versions of the game, but they really are the same game. In fact, they have
Hmm.
only one rule book. It's definitely two boxes of of civilizations you can play with together. And I have all of mine that I store in one box now. But both of them are very interesting. all of the civilizations are not that different. There's just a few small things. You've got access to different cards, but the differences are subtle, and yet they can really change how people are going to be playing the game. And I really like that.
Yeah.
I like how the game just sort of works toward its conclusion. I love playing this game solo. It's fantastic solo. It comes, although there is one important errata that you need to look up for that. Otherwise, you'll just be losing every game in about 2 minutes. But it's a very interesting way, because the designers have taken and made a very purposeful solo experience in which each of the civilizations you play against will follow the theme, the thematic play of that civilization, and it's very clean and easy to implement. But with other people, it's also really good. It's a very difficult game to teach, and it's very difficult to pick up from the rule book. The rules are kind of rough, especially because about half of them are contained in the glossary, and so, which is not where you would normally think to look for the rules. But once you've gotten over that hurdle and either learned it from the rules yourself or taught it to been taught by somebody else, it can be a really fascinating game. I especially like it at 2. If you add 3 and 4, it adds a lot of downtime. But I just really was enamored with Imperium. And when I got it, I mean, I played it 20 times in a row. I just set it up and played it. And when people would come over, I'd say, we're playing Imperium. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I really was surprised by how much I liked this game.
Okay, so it's also my number one.
Ah, well, there you go.
It's been on my anticipated list as number 1 as well.
Right.
And yeah, everything you said. There's nothing really to add. You said it all. It's once you get used. It's like during my first game. At first, it was like, okay, so we do this and that means that. But once you get through that and you get used to that, it becomes so much fun. And you want to get to those your more powerful, those extra cards that are underneath that in Imperium deck, whatever it is. Like it's like you wanna get to those. I feel like they did a little bit too much with the keywords, just a bit too much. Could have been more streamlined. But let it be. Imperium Legends and Classics. I do own both of these. Got them from Secret Santa, and it's fun. It's a really cool game. All right, so this is it for today's episode. Top 10 games of 2021, and
there you go.
We're already in 2022, playing some new games, and I'm also discovering some older games from previous years, so which is cool.
That's always fun.
I mean, I finally discovered Gentis or Gentis, whatever, Gentis.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's
pretty good.
Very surprised, yeah, in a good sense.
It's sure is an ugly game, but it's a very it's a very enjoyable game.
I didn't find it ugly because I had this deluxified edition, so I didn't find
so
it.
do I. It's
I found it.
ugly.
I found it stylish. It's
stylish.
not in a gold. It's not in a golden age ugly kind of a thing. It has some style. So I did enjoy how it looks. So for some weird reason. Anyway, that's not about this game. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we're gonna see you in another video soon.
All right. Hopefully soon.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.